Oh, there it is. I guess we're live. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Today we've got a real special episode for you guys. We've got a guy that we've been trying to get on the podcast for a while now. He's a real good friend of everybody on the podcast. And real excited to have him. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Carlson?
Yeah, I guess I should, huh? So I'm Andrew Carlson. Those who don't know, I go by Chance, part of the Sons of Lambos guys over in San Antonio. So
he's not going to tell you how good of a player he is, but he's decent with dogs, decent. And that's kind of going to be the theme of the podcast today. We're going to talk about Daughters of Khaine in its entirety, kind of with a specific focus on the newer book and how it fits into the meta. We'll kind of like run back how it's kind of been since the book previous too, because Chance has been playing it the entire time. So he's got a real good perspective on where the book has been and kind of where it is now and maybe where it'll be in the future. So I guess we'll just kind of hop right into it. I'll start with a couple changes that stick out to me. I think everyone's kind of up in arms about the Witch Brew changes. We'll use the word changes, right? It's not the word that most people are using, but it's one word for it.
maybe I'm controversial on that one, Gavin. Something needed to be done. Like, as a doc player, I can recognize that it was a little broken.
Right. I think so too.
I don't know if it should be on a 5-up. Maybe a 4-up to start the game and make it more consistent as the game goes on versus not really getting into it until turn 3 is consistency unless you're taking Hagnar.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people's complaints were with it, was that it just was a roll, and it just tied into everything that made the army work. It gave you battle shock immunity on your big units. It gave you reroll wounds for an army that kind of needed it because there's lots of 4+ of wound in the army, and it just evened out your damage to a pretty absurd amount, especially with a snapshot where the army was when it came out. Like those kind of buffs just didn't exist in, I think, 2018 when it came out. You were still looking at like the old Stormcast book where you paid a CP to reroll ones to hit. Like that was a normal buff, and then they just got a free one from Witch Brew with battle shock immunity tied in.
Well, you had also factions that were reflecting mortal wounds, just as the faction-wide ability, right? So yield Temple Nest. Yeah. And reflecting wounds that way. I think Matt Taylor found that out the hard way with his War Mammoth at War Games Con in 2018. I think it was 10 Blood Sisters took it down from spears and then reflection.
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
I love Blood Sisters. I'm all about them now. I mean, the whole army of snakes is what Gavin and I have both been working on, and really happy to get you in here. And
yeah, I mean, I'll talk some of the other stuff I'm looking at and kind of playing with. I'm not too afraid of like opening up some of the stuff behind the scenes. So I've talked with Matt from Austin quite a bit too about some of the different stuff going on. So I don't know.
Another well-known doc player, huh?
I don't think Witch Brew is a bad change. I just think it needs a slight errata, just a little change.
Yeah. And then like Witch Brew, and then kind of what tied into that, like the real classic combo was Mind Razor 2, right? And there's an argument that it got better, but I don't really see it because it got less consistent. And that's what I think. That's where the deal breaker is. It's kind of a wash as to what it does and if it's better than what it used to do. But you used to have the artifact that lets you reroll ones to cast, and it was one less cast, and it dramatically changed the consistency that you get it off on now, where it's just a flat 7. Really.
Well, so Shadowstone wasn't just reroll ones; it was also +1 to casting shadow spells, which was huge because Mind Razor was a shadow spell. So you were casting on 7s versus 7s, which is now 8s, but unless you're doing it with Morathi, which I think everyone's pretty much doing.
Yeah,
because you're so locked in now that she has to take Mind Razor.
Yeah.
So that's a little frustrating because I think there's other spells that would be really fun with her. I think Mirror Dance would be really fun on her. But it is what it is, I guess.
And it's the damage changing to charge phase kind of, it makes it less restrictive on what it's going on. I think it opens up.
So that I agree with big time.
Right. It opens up the units that you can put it on. And basically, like anything in your book you can take Mind Razor and just get better, right?
100%, yeah. I don't think you're so restricted. So before, you had to make sure you had the bravery stacking or bravery reduction in place to make sure Mind Razor was really going to have max value. Yeah. And playing against death and things like that, Mind Razor was a lot of times worthless because it's like, okay, here's all these bravery 10 I can't do crap against because my army's bravery 7, bravery 8 across the board.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, sure, I get a bonus Ren, but I want the damage because it's more important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it usually just wind up like making your witch elves better a lot of the time was the role it was filling to just get that extra rend.
Yeah, I remember playing against it a lot. Like we played almost at every GT, and I can say being somebody who played against it a lot, like it definitely feels heavy-handed. I think I was out-armied a lot of those fights, but I never, minus I think that very first game was 100% you were in control of it. And then probably our game at Masters too, just on how it went. But I think that the games that we had in the middle
that was your first GT though at Houston, wasn't it?
That was my first 5 games of Age of Sigmar.
Those are good games.
I played a couple practice
everybody.
games before that.
You beat all the Harambe's Heroes guys in that one tournament. You beat Brian before he even knew he wanted to be in Harambe's Heroes, and then he beat Zach. He beat me, like all in a row, right?
So I know I watched the podcast the other night where Zach was talking about his luck and like the lucky game. Game 4 is my lucky game to draw him on that mission. If I had drawn Fire Slayers on any other mission, I don't think I would have won.
Yeah, Fire Slayers were tough then and have always been tough with their new book for sure.
Yeah, he may not want to hear that, but it's the truth. Like that mission was the reason I beat him. It was nothing that he played wrong. It was just the mission.
It was also before he figured out that he could take 30 Hearthguard in one unit and get
instead of his 20-man blocks because they weren't bad enough.
Yeah, no, he didn't figure out yet that he could get 5 free Hearthguard if he just went to 30.
Yeah, I was riding high at Slambo. I was 2-0 day one. Like, here we go. And then I'm looking down at the pairings, and it's like, oh, it's Zach. And I think Gavin was sitting beside me. I'm like, who is Zachary Kennedy? Because he and I didn't know each other yet. And he just laughed and walked away. Like, here you go.
Yeah, who's Zachary Kennedy? Yeah, he's some guy.
Blades of Corn, 60 Hearthguard on Scorched Earth. When they specifically changed the mission to where you couldn't take the objectives for a turn. So I was like, oh, okay, well, you can.
I walked up, he's laughing, Zach's laughing. He's like, you can't win, right? Like, you know it. I'm like, yeah, so we'll set up the board and let's go get some beers and we'll just play this thing out. But no, it's not going to. Marauders and Skull Crushers aren't fighting their way through 60 Hearthguard. Just not possible. I don't care how bad or good the dice are either way. Like,
yeah.
Sure. Any other complaints you have with the book right now, Gavin?
Complaints.
They keep picking at it. That's what we talk about. They just won't leave it alone.
Yeah, and then it was like the Ren thing was weird. I mean, that just seems like a waste of ink in general. Just all of it. Like, why couldn't you get that right on the book? Why does it need an FAQ like first day? Especially when you had the supplement that was out for 2 months, and like just all of it just felt like a waste of ink for like Heartrender. That was something mundane, but it was significant enough to cause like some friction, right?
And it was obvious it was intended, and this is like people don't understand what periods mean in the English language, and that's a huge gripe of mine. So
yeah. And then
if they had addressed the relic versus addressing prayers, I think it wouldn't have even been an issue. Like opening up that can of worms, it is the prayer nerf now.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you also kind of like there's a meta now where there's quite a bit of what's at the top. Has an abundance of mortal wound output, and the dock change doesn't make much sense to me. It's kind of a head scratcher going from a 5+ to a 6+, just specifically against mortal wounds, which gives it its play against those armies. And it was already kind of like you were punching up in those matchups already, so it just seems like a weird errata, right?
So I don't think Hagnar is good for the command ability anymore, or the command trait. I'm sorry, I don't think it's good for the command trait. I don't think the Feel No Pain for regular wounds is that great. Sure, it's nice, but I don't think it's the moneymaker.
Agreed.
I think the ability to enhance Battle Round with how much the book is now 3s and 3s across the board. Mm-hmm. So many units are 3s and 3s across the board now. I think enhancing Battle Round, especially Battle Round 2, rerolling 1s to hit, is massive for witches. It's massive for snakes. I mean, it's it's game changing in Melee.
Yeah.
So
also,
free CP, right? It's CPs I don't have to spend for abilities.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's why
also gives you that witch brew access. It at least makes it more consistent early, and then also wakes up your cauldron early too. So
yeah, having the Avatar awake turn 2 on is just amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we're not ever going to get it on turn 1 anymore because we're probably not using that prayer anymore. Thanks, GW. But at least we'll get it awake on turn 2. So,
well, I wouldn't hold your breath on the prayers not getting fixed. So, like, I think there's some stuff coming still.
Yeah, it just, I mean, I don't know. It just seems, if their intent is to make it 1 prayer per priest, it seems like that was a friction point, 6 to 12 months ago. It just seems 6 or 12 months late, and they've accelerated the power of other things in the game, and prayers really aren't an issue in my mind anymore. Not the issue that they were.
Are what breaks the game right now. I think it is Mortal Wound from casting. I think looking at what Croak does, or looking at what you can do with Seraphon or Teclis, and just the Mortal Wound like vomiting that they do in the casting.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah, Seraphon, Lumineth now. I mean, to an extent, KO was doing it, but I don't think KO is even a problem anymore.
So they do it out of one ability, and honestly, what I suspect is going to happen is they're going to take Spell in the Bottle and say you can't use faction-specific endless spells.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
And then I think they're going to absolutely screw KO over, because that's what GW does, and they're going to jack up the points cost, even though that's not what they should do. But all they need to do is just address the Spell in the Bottle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the fly high thing, you could make it a command ability if you wanted to, because they don't do anything with their command points for the most part, so it wouldn't hurt them necessarily. But Spell in the Bottle is the only thing that I really think
it's not super broken. There's ways around it. I know Bellicor can kind of lock down some of it. I know that there's some gimmicks with it, but yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear my 3-year-old. She's having a meltdown right now.
Oh, yeah, I got one too. That doesn't even bother me. This is her birthday weekend. She just turned 4. So.
I was like hoping the mic was not picking it up, and I thought more and more. I was like, it probably is. Like, she's being damn loud.
They get wild, dude. That's just how they are.
You've seen our podcast. There's nothing professional about this. Like, we don't care. Like,
I do kind of enjoy about the book that the other sub-factions have come up just kind of across the board. I don't see a weak one. Like, they all kind of have their play style to varying degrees, and it's not just Calibron and Hagnar like above everything anymore. And I really like that about it a lot. We're kind of talking about how we like.
I think Dragic and Neth could see some serious play soon. I really do, especially with Slaughter Troop as the battalion. I think you could get some really interesting stuff going on there. Yeah, having 230 blocks of such as a Slaughter that are retreating and charging, and they're getting rend on the charge. Like
with their crazy pile-ins.
You can stack Mind Razor on top of that still, and so now you're charging 2, so you're at -2 and 2 damage a pop. That's pretty consistent damage from only 2 attacks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as like Trolls, and Trolls hang in there with their damage. But instead of they're coming off of 6 bodies, you're coming off of 20,
Well, you could do 30 very easily and put shields on still and have reflection. I mean, that's a nasty little brick to have to get through.
Yeah.
Throw a Mutter Sacrifice on there, and you're talking about a unit that's just going to make you hate life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Slaughter Troop.
It feels real nice if you're in a points deficit in your list building, and you roll that triumph on the save rolls. Just feels real nice. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna reroll saves here, and
I'm rolling everything. I'm fishing for 6s. I don't give a shit.
Like, you can kill these 10 witches, and you're gonna take 20 mortal wounds over all of my abilities, and
yeah, good trade. You got the 10 witches, and now you lost that unit in the process.
No, I think there's some interesting stuff. I think each temple really has a lot of interesting play to it. The Calibron change was very much needed. It now fixed the teleport, so it's actually usable.
Yeah, that was questionable. Like, the wording was that you had to sit for 2 movement phases, I think, if you teleport. It just, I wish they would just proofread their books. It's
the ultimate working from home fails, is what this book was. It was just some dude working from home with his 3-year-old screaming in the background. He's like, I got to get this done. Okay, it looks good. I copy and paste. I waited to the last minute because, everyone in the GW community, we all wait to the last minute to get anything done. So he had like 3 hours before he needed to turn it in, before he even looked at it. So he started copying and pasting, and shit got wild. And I get it.
Yeah, just before you print $5,000 of Khaine's book, Daughters of Khaine books, just proofread it. Please.
Yeah, one line.
That's all.
2 lines. Terribly missed.
It's weird to say. I think the Karath is the worst temple, but it has probably the best command trait for Daughters of Khaine.
Yeah,
I mean, kill a unit, get a
CP.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah, that's almost like blood type stuff. Just killing.
I mean, for how Daughters are playing right now, when you talk about using Morathi's ability, it's like, okay.
And there's a few of these command abilities and command traits that interact with your general, right? And like specifically in Calibron, the command ability can only be used by your general, but the little Morathi also counts as a general for the purposes of command abilities. So you have 2 sources of teleporting there. It's a nice little wrinkle that is subtle, and there's a lot of stuff like that in this book. There's wrinkles that are subtle that is going to take playing and and grinding those games out to figure everything out that's going on in the book, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I think Keltnar has some options. I don't know it all that well still. I think there's some interesting playability. Xanthari Kai, I think, has a lot of interesting play when it comes to the additional attack with snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about the Shadow Queen, you're stacking 5 attacks with snakes per snake. That's crazy damage. I mean, that's ridiculous. 3s and 3s are rolling 1s. I mean, that's ridiculous damage.
Yeah, they killed everything when I was playing. That's what I was playing at first, and they killed everything they touched. But I got a little crazy with it, so most of the time they also got blown off the board afterwards. But who cares? They went 3.
It's what, 260 though for 20 wounds?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a 20 wound block that can probably remove 600 points on its own?
Yep.
I'll trade that all day. I mean, that's fine.
Me too, man. Like we describe this game on a regular basis as trading assets for assets and trying to trade positively on those trades. And Sisters can do that like not a lot of other units can. Just 10 of them going in there in Xanthar Kai with Mind Razor just blow up things.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Harpies even with potentially 2 extra attacks on a unit of Harpies with the force multipliers. I think Mr. Carlson maybe has some ideas.
We can get into that. Yeah. So
we don't have to spoil it if you don't want to.
No, we can. So I'm playing around with the idea of 2 10-man squad of Life Takers because I think they're just that good on the charge. Yeah. And if played correctly, you should be able to get one of them behind a screen of witches to protect it from the counter charge.
Agreed.
So it's going to be a positioning game. It's going to be even worse than it was before with Daughters, but now it's trying to jump a unit back behind a screen to protect it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'd be nuts. Go in there.
And that's the idea. You have witches with shields in front of it, right behind them, and then you jump them behind them.
Mm-hmm. That'd be nuts.
And you just sit there looking at your opponent, and you're like, so charge the witches. Cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at 2 extra attacks each and 2 extra damage each on the charge, and I think 2 rend, and like you're gonna see a lot of damage come out.
On the charge. So they go from 1 to 2 base, plus they get a rend for charging. And Mind Razor puts them at 2 rend plus 3 damage. Then
that's insane.
And 2 extra attacks potentially if you have Morathi and the command ability close. So it's a lot of multiplication. Yeah. A lot of multiplication.
That 10-man squad's doing 40 attacks, 3s and 4s, hopefully with Witch Brew up, and you're going to mulch some people.
Mm-hmm. And then
even without Witch Brew, my 1s and 1s math, I was getting around 50-ish damage through on the charge.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
So it's bad. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. Command traits bunk, but the artifact seems pretty nice for an artifact that you have to take, right? Subtract 1 from wound rolls on melee weapons. It's not. You can do worse than that for an artifact that you have to put on a character.
Well, so the bigger deal is the command ability is any hero though in that battalion or that temple, and so that means that the Shadow Queen can trigger it, Morathi can trigger it, an Iron Scale can trigger it. Like that's a huge deal that it's any hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The command ability is really good. I was talking about the command trait.
I'm ignoring the command trait completely.
Extra,
it doesn't exist.
whatever. Maybe that works, and maybe I get D3 mortal wounds. Like, okay.
Oh yeah, even when I was playing it, like I forgot it was there 99% of the time. Like,
I don't care about that command trait. It's absolutely worthless. That's the same.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way with the Hagnar one. Is the sad part now. Like I look at the Hagnar command trait, the 5-up. I don't care about it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
now
just
that
it's not as good as it
away,
used to be.
Yeah.
Gavin
Yeah,
doesn't like my response to that one.
Well, you don't play Hagnar for that. Like I agree anymore. You don't play it for that now that they've taken it away from mortal wounds, and mortal wounds are the number one issue in the game right now. Is AOE mortal wounds from casting and
yeah. Which I mean, you hope that they will address. I hope they address it.
Yeah,
I think
Always
it will
good
be
to hope.
addressed. Yeah.
When I read that FAQ, it felt like a knee jerk answer. It felt like the dude didn't even know what he was talking about. Like, hey, in whatever it is, whatever it was, the fanatical faith rule, does it apply to mortal wounds? No. Like, I don't think he even knew what fanatical faith was when he answered that question.
It's a lot like the prayer FAQ. Like I feel like they were like, oh well, no, because you're trying to take this artifact that lets you know 2, and you're trying to abuse that artifact. And so their solution was like, well, you can only have one prayer. Okay, I think you meant one prayer from the Khaine table and one prayer from the War Scroll, but you guys didn't delineate that. You've made it even more confusing now.
Yeah.
It's as bad as Witchbrew was when it was first written. Half the community was like, well, it's 2 dice rolls.
It's like, well, why? Like, functionally, why? Like, just do one. Like,
Same cup.
Yeah, that just. Yeah.
So I did a couple test games with it being both rolls, and it was so convoluted to keep track of which aspect of Witchbrew cut off.
Yeah, exactly. And it just takes up time that doesn't need to be taken up. Like, just roll once, and like, yeah, it's good.
It's already an army with a bad enough hero phase time.
Yeah. And then the bravery for Xanthar being the faction bonus seems like a head scratcher in hindsight. It looked much better in the Broken Realms book because way Mindraiser used to work.
Yeah, it paired well with Mindraiser back in the day when you got him to Bravery 10.
Yeah,
I looked at it with like Vampiric Guard and making sure that you have that bravery if you don't have Witchbrew up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So getting to a more consistent bravery value, I think, is nice.
Right. It's just, yeah, but it's still like overall, strong sub-faction. You can play it and not feel like you're trolling, which is what used to happen when you weren't playing Hagnar or Calibron to an extent. It was like, oh, you're not okay. Well,
yeah.
What's your guys' opinion on an avatar on foot now?
With the prayers change, I don't like it anymore. Like I liked it when it had a plethora of prayers to pull from. Now that you can only do one, it's like, meh.
Yeah, I think it depends on how much you value blessing, because blessing is really the prayer still that you're investing in Hagnar if you really want a prayer to go off, and like it does even that out. If you take Iron Circlet and that, it's just a lot to invest just to make sure you get blessing off, and blessing's worse now. So it's it makes playing a avatar on foot a little bit more attractive than it was before, which was like at 0. Like no one ever brought them, and now you can kind of bring one.
I just don't know why you bring it on foot versus just putting that Hag Queen on a cauldron and bringing it with you. Maybe the extra movement he gets when he wakes up. Maybe
extra movement, so it's 9-inch move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the +1 to pray and the plus bravery within 12.
Yeah, if they go back and address the prayers, then I think we may see. I know I would mess around with a foot avatar maybe if I was.
I think you're only ever playing them in Hagnar because they wake up early, so I think it's a viable option in Hagnar if you don't want to play some of the battalions. A lot of the battalions aren't cohesive with those ideas. So if you just want to give up on drops and play like high drop and not play a battalion, then I could see people taking.
Oh, you mean what a lot of like older doc was? Where you just were 13, 14 drops.
You're just like, I don't
whatever.
care about. Yeah. You can go first. Like, yeah. Or make me go first, and I put my buffs up, and I go into the middle.
Yeah.
And
I make you either hate
you
your
can
life because
grind.
you have to grind to me, or I make you hate life because you let me come into you buffed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done it. I've slammed multiple times 6 skull crushers right into 30 witch elves, and I think like 3 died at the end of it. And then I'm pulling off like 3 skull. I'm pulling off 18 wounds of 3+ save off the board.
That sounds about right. Sounds
3
about right.
naked witch elves are going away.
Sometimes you even rolled a 2 on your Blessing of Khaine prayer, and you couldn't play as aggressively.
Oh yes,
Sometimes.
it was horrible. It was horrible. I had to rethink my entire strategy when that happened.
Yeah.
I've seen that paralyze people though. Like not you, but other people that I've played Doc. It's like, oh, I didn't get Blessing of Khaine off. Well, I'm just not getting out of my deployment zone. Like, okay, so it's my board.
Yeah.
All right, like you're not going to pin me back here.
So people have complained a lot about like the prayers and the buffing of Doc, but I don't think they've recognized, and I think now we are with seeing other armies now that have to invest a lot to buff units. There's a lot of points investment in Doc to get your units to perform at very high levels. So sure, I can take 30 witches and I can have them do the damage of, a 700 point, 600 point blob at 300 points. For sure I can, but I'm also investing almost the exact same amount of points though in buffs.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was the same thing that people used to complain about Marauders with Slaves of Darkness. It's like, yeah, Marauders are a 320 point unit, whatever they were at the time. It's like they're killing everything they touch. Yeah, but you also have an 800 point model, 170 point model, and 110 point model, all buffing that. Like, plus, you needed a teleport to go off in a era right now where magic just doesn't normally go off, especially if you need one spell to go off.
Unless you're playing Seraphon or Realm Lords, I don't trust your magic right now.
Yeah,
maybe Tzeentch if it comes back, but Tzeentch has kind of been curbed lately, so I don't know.
Yeah, Tzeentch is interesting in Magic because you could, as long as you have Destiny dice, you can guarantee a lot of your casting, and then Blue Scribes is a good tech for them too. If you are heavy on casters, you just get a flat reroll across your army. The issue with that is that a lot of these armies can attack your small support, like they're built to attack that. Like Seraphon Commons calls you, or Lumineth Searing Lights you, and Archers you, and KO just shoots you. So like it's
when
almost
you're shooting a mortal wound. I mean,
yeah. So like, why am I investing into a support character if it's just going to be 5 easy wounds? So.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Calibron's going to see more focus and play too, though. Just reduction.
I think so too, just because of the reduction of damage, and you can also play so far back and condense in weird ways because your movement is abstract. It's not linear. You can pick units up and put them wherever, especially if you were taking if you have Mirror Dance alongside your teleport, right? So you can shift your heroes and your units around and not have to worry about normal movement lines. So I can see them being successful for sure.
Yeah, I think the points become very difficult in Calibron, though.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of things I really like in that list that are hard to squeeze in right now.
Yeah, and it starts with Morathi. I think a lot of the competitive builds are going to be tied to Morathi, and that's just a 600 point model that is worth 600 points. It's worth it. I'm not going to argue that Morathi isn't, but it changes the way you can build a list.
Her new rules are significantly better. I mean, they are. The Broken Realm rules are significantly better. And now with the spear being -2 again, she's gonna chunk people. I mean, she's just gonna get nasty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Eight swings, right?
Full health? 8 swings. Yeah.
Versus the 6 she used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then and she doesn't bracket until the second turn of damage. So you can go in, take 3 wounds, you're still top bracket. It's still swinging with all of that damage, and it's just nice to have that and the smaller one on the board at the same time. And she also makes the rest of your army a lot better than the old one did because you have the extra fight or extra shoot tied to the small one, which is always going to be on the board. So it's so much better.
It makes Slaughter Queens, I think, redundant. I just don't ever see a reason to bring a Slaughter Queen ever again. No.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember going in our games so often. Morathi was just a tie something that I don't want running around the board down type piece. now she just deletes that stuff off the board.
So she can still tie it down, but the beauty is I still have spellcasting from her. I'm not losing. I don't have to make the choice anymore. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like going back to like the game in Houston between me and Gavin, having that decisive moment when I knew when to pop her or when I knew it was worthwhile to pop and have her move out. I don't have to stress that anymore. I just get it now, and it's wonderful.
It is
sure. Cool. The extra movement will be sad to lose, but as a whole, the model got better, and I think the points increase is justified. Like I really am happy with the collection of rules that they put on Morathi for the points. Because I think it adds like something that's just not in the game. Like it's a unique play style that just isn't in the game that you don't see in other armies. And I think that's a good place for a book to be. You don't want a lot of the same stuff in the game. You want stuff that's different. So
my biggest gripe would just be tweaking Witch Brew. I think it still needs to be a role. I just think a 5-up starting the game is a little too inconsistent.
Yeah, especially since nowadays, by turn 3, most games are over. Like, there's so much damage in the game right now. Your most important thing's not becoming consistent until mid-game is too late. Like, Battle Shock immunity doesn't mean anything when most of your army's gone by then. Like, there's just too much damage in the game right now for that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you maybe make it a 4. Just give you a 50.
I wouldn't even mind, like, maybe an artifact that makes it a 2+. Like you have to use your artifact slot on it, and you get a better, more consistent version of it, and that's a resource cost. It's not like before, where the argument was, well, "There's no resource cost here." It's just you just get it, and you get it in abundance because it just lines up with what you want to do already, which is take multiple hags on foot to get all of your prayers right. And that was the argument before.
Well, hags were super broken originally, though. I mean, they were 60 points. I mean,
60 points. Yeah. You're just taking. You're filling your HQ slots every time. Like you're like, what other characters do you want? And then you have that many hags. Like,
I mean, I used to run 3 on foot. They were that good.
Yeah, well, it's 180 points. Like
there's nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you probably have 3 big units, and 3 hags makes your whole army battle shock immune and reroll wounds, and etc. No, he's gone, and now he's back.
What did I do? Uh-oh. Okay.
Camera's back on. There we go. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we'll call it technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're gushing about Morathi.
It's hard not to.
And I'm glad about. I know it's I'll sit here and talk good about Morathi all day. I love the model, love the rules.
Well, fixing Ironheart, so there's no gimmicks now with wounding it. Like it's such a better model.
Yeah, and I think it needed that too because, like Slayer Kings just being able to remove Morathi was probably a little excessive, and then also in the old set of rules, transformation mechanic was interesting, but what would happen in the modern game is that you would always take those 3 wounds like instantly, and then you're at 6 wounds if you transform.
Yeah.
So you can't transform.
It was just, I think it was no, and it's just, I think it's just it's a more playable version now. You'd already kind of seen her tail off a little bit. She just wasn't as valuable in a lot of lists as like 20 snakes were at the end of it.
Yep.
Because they just fit better into the meta as a whole, I think.
Yeah, some of what Matt was doing with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You saw people, you were still playing Morathi because you just love Morathi, but
I do. I think it's a fantastic model. I love her rules. It's hard not.
I don't see ever me playing a list without her, even though there may be better builds without her. I don't care.
So I'll let you guys know. I actually hated her when she first came out. so when the original book dropped in 2018, I was like, I will never play Morathi. It's the dumbest gimmick ever. I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played her one time, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever because of the things she can do. Not because of that she was broken or not, just because of her play.
Yeah.
I don't even think she was that broken back then. Like, I mean, every game that we played, there was one game at Masters where
2018, man, she was pretty bonkers in 2018.
Yeah. I guess at the time, I didn't play back then. I started like 2019, but
when we played, game, you're talking about like Stormcast being up towards the top, along with, I think KO,
Nurgle, I had Nurgle up there,
and Nurgles, and she fit pretty nicely into that
Yeah, I guess that was the time when like Corn Tyrants of Blood was actually decent, you know?
Yeah.
When the Bloodthirster War Scroll didn't suck.
Watch her carve up all your Bloodthirsters. Yeah. So
she'll still do it, just so you know, if you guys want to bring Tyrants of Blood out here, she'll still tear them the fuck up.
100% she will.
Yeah. And then kind of touching on the Slaughter Queen versus Hag Queen on Cauldron that you brought up earlier, I can almost see their 2 points being swapped because I think the Witch Brew just provides so much more. Witch Brew, and they both get prayers, but I just think it provides more value to your army, and it makes it a no-brainer because it's cheaper. So maybe not as expensive, but I think the Slaughter Queen definitely should be cheaper than the Hag Queen.
I think 270 is too much for it. I think it's way too much. And I was excited when I first saw it was going to be 270. I was like, sweet, that's a huge reduction in points. But it just doesn't play the way it used to. I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The redundancy is just... I mean, if you have Marathi, she took that it's just a better version of that models.
Well, it's 24 versus 12, and the other issue is I'm going to have Marathi realistically no matter what until Battle Round 4, so...
Yeah.
Am I really going to be hurting that Battle Round 5?
270 is almost halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, 210 for just the basic Marathi. So, I mean, she's 60 points cheaper still.
Yeah.
I mean, hero to hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Those jumped out at me. I wish Slaughter Queens got changed. I do, because I would really like to play them. I really like Slaughter Queens. Yeah.
What do you think about all of this?
This
Morgue waste. This whole.
So she's broken.
Yeah, like like that many wounds on a hag, like just.
I have her entire set right here on some.
I picked one painted up from a guy for like $15, and I was like,
me too. It's funny how that works out, right?
Yeah, it's 80 points for about 10 wounds, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I get more models for less points. Don't talk about it. We don't have to talk about it.
Or it's 90 points for a regular Hag Queen. It makes a lot of sense. Oh, yeah. I can't give her an artifact? Man, I'm really disappointed.
Yeah. It's 2 drops too. I don't want to spend an extra drop. Come on.
On 5 free wounds? I would. I'm fine with that. I don't care. Okay, I'm a 3 drop or a 4 drop instead of a 2 or 3 drop. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 right now is kind of that space, and then if I think 3 is where it's at right now. 3 drops is when you're going to be deciding priority for the most part.
Yeah, I floated around with a couple 2 drop ideas that can be interesting.
Yeah.
Oof, that's with what I know this list can do, and always dictating turn order. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And what this book is really, I mean, I'm not comparing it to anything else that's came out, but on its own, standalone, this is still a good book. Like I like it. I just think they keep picking at it. Like, leave it alone. Let us get some. There wasn't enough time in all of 2020 to do an FAQ, but we had this book for like a week, and they're already picking it apart. Like, come on.
Well, it's just like I look at other armies that deserve FAQs, and they won't address points issues with Seraphon. They won't address FAQ issues with Seraphon, but they'll FAQ prayers right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And point at playtesting data. Like, okay.
You didn't playtest Krog vomiting mortal wounds all game again for the next.
I guess they don't have a guy that knows how to do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to put Krog on a Balewind. They don't have one in studio, right?
I've heard the European podcast blaming it on America, like it's our fault because we break everything. That's what a lot of the European podcasts have. It's like, hey,
I accept
this
that.
errata is specifically for America because some American dude did this, and now we lose it. Like,
well, so that's what the prayer errata is. The prayer errata 100% is on the Americans. It's from the guys on the East Coast 100% because they were literally doing 2 Canaanite prayers because of the stupid artifact.
Yeah,
and they were like, I don't see it. It says I can do it. I can pray as many times as I want. It says any.
Yeah.
So they were doing like a blessing of Khaine. Yeah, they were doing a blessing of Khaine, like a sacrament of blood, and then they were doing like the Avatar prayer off of 1 hag.
Hey, I like it, guys. Keep it up. Keep breaking my stuff.
100%. That's from the guys on the East Coast. 100%.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these battalions, I think, are better as a whole than the old book was, because they have battalions that are actually.
Oh yeah, the battalions are great.
I think the battalions are some of the best battalions that Doc has ever had. I truly do mean that. Like,
there used to not really be any usable battalions, and it. Oh. You
It
hear
was
me?
cutting out.
It says
we were rolling because we were like, yeah, we're just gonna act like Gavin's not dropping.
Yeah, red barred me out, dude. But and what I
back out. He's gone again.
I think Shrineblood might be the worst battalion in this entire book, and that's saying something. Like, that's saying something. Yeah. Vampiric Guard's amazing. Scathe Coven's amazing. I think Cauldron Guard and Slaughter Troop have some niche play.
Yeah, that was my first lean into with Scathe Coven. I wanted to, like, okay, fine, I'm using all snakes. They're all Battleshock immune. We're just going to be done with it. We're not going to worry about Witch Brew. We're just going to ignore it anyway. But then the more I played with it, because I think I was at roughly like a 4 or 5 drop with that list, and I felt like Morathi needed to be in the battalion, and so that's what ended up leaning me back towards Vampiric Guard.
I think I wouldn't sleep on Cauldron Guard. I really wouldn't. The bonus 2 inches to running and charging is going to be massive. So 1 inch each is going to be massive for a lot of Doc lists.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about witches with the 26-inch threat range. You're talking about Canary with the about, what is that, 28? Is that 27-inch threat range?
Yeah.
That's pretty legit, having almost a 30-inch reach with just those 2 units.
So where do Doomfire Warlocks? What do we do with those things? Like, they just
so do you have a garbage can?
Yeah, they just don't belong here, right? They don't even fit in with anything. It's like, the way I look at the army, the snakes are the cav. The snakes are your cavalry. Like, they're the ones that are going to go flying across the board and hit people. Like, it just doesn't seem like Doomfire Warlocks really have a home here, ever.
I mean, they're fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're fun in fun lists because they can cause some interesting threat. But in comp play, I just don't see how you fit them in correctly. I just don't see for their points cost how they fit.
No, like, I think we're already struggling with points with this book. Like, I think my list is like 1960 with just 3 battle line and a few heroes. You know, it's like, I was messing around with the idea of the Blade Wind, but I didn't. I took it out because I felt like the Triumph was better than Blade Wind in this particular.
I squeezed a Blade Wind in and still been like 1970, 1980.
Okay. See, I'm at 1960 right now. I could put the Blade Wind in, but I feel like getting that save reroll or getting a hit reroll early, if you need to make if someone sticks a Maw Crusher on the line, well, let's go get them with snakes and let's just give them a hit reroll.
So that's where you get interesting with like running 12 and then charging still with yeah.
I think my average move for my snakes turn 1 has been about 17 inches.
Well, playtesting against Ryan Rutherford, the snakes were very effective at alpha striking. Super effective.
I think one game we played, it was Better Part of Valor. Like, I just killed all of his battle line on turn 1. It's game over. Like, you can't score a point anymore.
Yeah, being able to cover reliably, 22, 25 inches is crazy.
Yeah, and that,
like, reliably, not just like, ooh, I got to get lucky and roll boxcars. No, just rolling 7s is fine.
Yeah. Yep. Moving 14 inches on these things on a lot of these missions where we start out like 19, 18 inches away from each other a lot of times. Like, yeah, I mean, even on...
Well, I'm talking about using an iron scale with it to pop the command ability.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, rolling that 7, like 14 inches on a lot of these missions where we're like 18 away from each other. Like,
and I can still charge you. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then with Hagnar, you're re-rolling 1s, so you're not failing a charge, realistically.
Yeah. One thing that I saw that was weird about that command ability is that the interaction between making a run roll a 6 isn't addressed at all in the FAQ. So you make the 2d6 roll a 6. Like, the thing you already spent a CP on, I'm going to spend another CP to make it a 6. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I wish that they would just do the logical thing, which is you can make one of the dice rolls a 6.
Well, so also you get weird interactions too with the re-rolling ones to run. Can I re-roll both or just one?
Yeah.
Oh, if I roll 2 ones, I re-roll them both.
So I do the same thing with charges because it says any ones rolled, you can re-roll. Like it doesn't restrict you, but it's like I don't know if they intended that.
Yeah. They're too busy fixing the Rend misprint and the prayer misprint. They couldn't be bothered to address the things that actually needed to be FAQ'd. One thing at a time. You can't expect a full FAQ.
Yeah.
All at once. They've got to have 2. They've got to have 2 chances.
Part.
Just
they're
like
not even done picking at our book.
Right?
Like they're not even done picking this thing apart. Like
back to your Doomfires though. Like it's frustrating because they do have, with the COVID now affecting 5 models and getting the +1 to cast. It's really, really nice. So you're getting Doomfire out on a 5 reliably. Like that's crazy. Yeah. And then to turn around and be like, oh, but they don't fit in any list.
Yeah, they just don't. I messed around with it. I bought a box of them and played around with it and was like, I just don't see where they're getting in. I don't see where I'm taking snakes out for them. I don't see where I'm going to take out Heartrenders to get them in the list. Like I
have 10. I've played with them before with Calibron. It's fun to teleport them and then you just murder a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just shoot whatever chaff's in front. So
just see, we're very limited on points, and I'm looking at my stuff here, and I'm just looking at how little a 2,000 point army actually is. Like we are just, especially if you want to specifically tech into like snakes. Like we lost our bonuses. Like the reason I was running them in a 20 block before was for the bonus, and now I mean.
So I think that's going to be 3.0 wide. I think bonuses are out the window.
Yeah, I expect that.
I agree.
I mean that started way back in Slaves of Darkness. That's when it really started.
It's a counter when like your Legion of Nagash, Vampire Lord, and Zombie Dragon was running around killing chaff. Like, well, we got to give something to chaff, and that was the standard for a while. And then
chaff got teeth.
Yeah, exactly. The chaff turned into Hearthguard. Like maybe Hearthguard doesn't need a rank bonus. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, yeah, like when they said you could only have 20, it almost made them like it was so close to making them cheaper by giving them that rank bonus at 20 versus 30. Like that was
now it's just all of your battle line is Hearthguard, not just 2 units or 1 unit.
The other unit that frustrates me in the book is the Shadow Stalkers. Like speaking of frustrating units, because their niche, their actual play is amazing. Their war scroll is freaking amazing. How do you fit them in?
Yeah,
what are you going to give up to put that in the game? Though is the problem in a comp list.
Yeah, I think a lot of it they're fighting for, like the Heartrender spot, and I think that Heartrenders with that move are still probably just a little better, just a little better. I know that some people are using them as their screens. They're taking 2 or 3 or 4 units of them and just putting them in front of their army, and like if you don't kill them, then they teleport them and they take board that way. So I mean that's an idea, but it pushes your drops so high.
Yeah, but at what cost? Exactly. Yeah. You got to drop other blocks then, because you still have to have 3 battle line, and these aren't battle line.
Yeah, I agree.
And like you said, they're fighting for that Heartrender spot because they're going to get your drops up because they don't fit in anywhere, and not to mention you got to run the risk of them dying because they're on the board. And then if they survive, then you can go take board with them. Where Heartrenders, you just put them in the sky, and I'll take board, but when I feel like it, you know.
Yeah,
it's just fresh because I think they're great models, and I love the sculpts, and like that's really frustrating. I love the -1 to hit and melee with the unit. I like the cursed whip missiles with the 6 to wound doing the mortal wound, or 6 to hit. Sorry, with the mortal wound. I think the war scroll is really good.
Yeah,
I just like the 6-inch range, and I have to set up 9 inches away. Like what the hell is this? So I set up and I get charged.
Yeah, that is a little goofy, especially considering what we've seen released. I'm not trying to compare it with everything else, but I believe there were some things that can teleport within 3 inches. They got a short range shooting attack, and they can get within 3 inches of you. That's seems like.
I mean, if those could do that, they'd be almost an auto include. That's the problem. You would sacrifice the drop then.
Oh yeah, if you can get them within 3, and then be able to shoot over a screen and maybe pick off a little hero.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of what makes Heartrenders work, and I'm sure that Chance has a bunch of examples of it through all the games he's played with Doc, is that because heart renders aren't on the board, your opponent will just forget they're there. Like they're like they don't see it, so it's like object permanence. They just don't remember that heart renders are there, and they lose the game because of it. So
they let it over affect their gameplay.
Yep,
and
it stagnates you. Yep.
Yeah,
Brian, you fell into that one.
Yes, the first game we played, I sat there like, oh, wait a minute. He's got these things in the deep strike behind me. Well, and then you gave me the turn, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay here? Like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to sit here. Like, at that point, I had heard about Doc, but I had never played it. It was a good game to get in early. Like, and especially against you playing it, it's like not a better test matchup.
You can do similar gimmicks with like Calibron now, too, with that teleport, and really making your opponent want to stagnate or stalemate the back line because they're not sure what you're going to do and who you're going to move.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to double tap it from whatever hero you have it on, and then plus Marathi, little Marathi, having the ability to double tap that and having more control and decision is really, really big.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of what separates, I think, the middle tables from the top tables is the ability and just want to play proactively. I think a lot of people want to play Sigmar reactively, and a good player is just not going to give you mistakes if you play reactively. So you're going to be reacting to the correct decisions, and he's just going to choke you out.
Yeah.
Whereas like like those top tables it's going to be proactive play versus reactive play. There's the big difference I see. Like one of the big differences I see between those clusters of players. So the heart renders play into that a lot,
which is what has pushed me off of
trying to make
Blades of Corn a lot. Is it is so reactive on how it plays. Like it is a counterpunch, but I still love Blades of Corn, and I'll still take it out and beat some people that I shouldn't beat with it. But I think that's its drawback compared to this. Is I don't know. After Masters, we just took the gas pedal out of the list. Took the floorboard out of the list and we put the gas pedal to the pavement now, and that's how we want to play. Like I'm just not going slow anymore. I'm not going to let you beat me because I was indecisive in my deployment zone. I might run into you and die, but that's fine. We'll do it on your side of the table.
Well, so that's a lot of the ways to play Doc, though, too, just in general, is not allowing your opponent to dictate what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Doc has a very specific play style, and you just stick with it. It doesn't matter if it works to plan or not. You just stick with the idea behind the list.
Yeah.
The moment you veer off that concept or whatever the gimmick is of your list, it doesn't matter what army, right? The moment you come off gimmick is the moment you're going to get in trouble with any list.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's Teclis is your centerpiece and it's that stupid 5-up bubble and he's puking out mortal wounds, the moment you come off of that 5-up bubble or the moment you stop puking out mortal wounds, you're going to be in trouble because you're going to allow your opponent to close the distance and close the gap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I think, like, as strong as Lumineth is right now, I think this army still plays well into it. I think we took a hit now that Hagnar took a hit specifically, but I think, as good as anyone else, I think we're going to play okay into it. I don't think it's like a 50-50 matchup by any means, but I don't think anyone has a 50-50 matchup into Lumineth right now. But I do think this book plays okay into it for the amount of speed you can generate in here. And
I think Seraphon might give Realm Lords a run for their money.
Yeah, probably still things and
just have more resource to trade. So
Mm-hmm.
it might not be the rules don't stack up like 1-to-1, but you start out with more stuff. So you can trade even if you're not trading favorably in every fight. You just have more stuff to trade.
You can do mortal wound output in shooting phase about equal to what the Realm Lord's going to be doing with Skinks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And just like a lot of their units start out with the -1, and then it's not too hard to get it to a -2 with Geminids. I could see a lot of the skink damage falling off pretty quickly because it happens on the wounds instead of the hit rolls. So
that's the downside of Seraphon there, but they make up for it in other aspects. You can just regurgitate how many you need or whatever. So
yeah, for sure. Still super strong army. Probably the strongest as is still, even with where Lumineth is with Teclis having a teleport. But I don't know if they look at Teclis having a teleport as a problem yet, just because it doesn't have any play. Whereas Seraphon's got hopefully a year's worth of valuable data that they'll look at. I don't know. They might not look at it again, but
I think they're ignoring tabletop tactics. They're pretending like it's our tabletop simulator, like it's not a thing. Like they're not paying attention to it. when like 8 out of the or 6 out of the top 8 lists at a 50-man GT on Tabletop Simulator are all things of Sotek Seraphon. Like, it's data, whether you want to admit it or not. It's data. It's
a super strong list.
It's probably the most honest data too, because it's not whatever clouded by the fact that you have to paint and get the army ready to play. It's just made purely on decision of what is the strongest. So it's probably a little bit even better data, I would argue, in some regards at least.
Yeah, pick purely because it's best.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, if someone had to buy 80 skinks and paint 80 skinks, I guarantee you don't see that kind of participation in that army. Like,
no, there's no way, because it's how annoying those are to paint. They're horrible.
Yes, I have.
It's one of the worst models that GW still makes. I refuse to play that build in Seraphon. I actually like my lizards. I refuse to play the skink list. I don't own any skinks but chameleon skinks. I've got 10 chameleon skinks. I will not paint the hordes of skinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gavin's on that Saurus stuff too. He just ignores skinks.
It's so much fun playing with like Saurus Guard and stuff. It's a great way to play. I don't care if it's comp. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where we've reserved ourselves to. It's like, I'm going to play the things I want to play. And if I can pull the win, like, I feel like I can still 3-2 play.
Well, I can 3-2 with like most of the doc stuff, playing what I want to play. The thing is, how can I shoehorn in that 4-1?
That's it. That's what we're looking for. Like, where do we do it?
Yeah,
we were hoping you would.
No, I don't know if the book is there anymore.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if the book is just the book has better internal balance, but relative to the meta, I don't know if it's just a guaranteed 4-1.
So I don't think it's a guaranteed 4-1. I don't think it's a guaranteed. I think you have to get the right matchup still. I think a lot of that's going to play into doc.
Yeah. And I mean, that's okay. I don't know if a book needs to be guaranteed 4-1 necessarily. You'd like it to be. I prefer it that way, but
I think it's better for the health of the game if a book really isn't, though. If every book is internally balanced around going 3-2, I think it's actually better for the health of the game in the long run.
Yeah.
1,000-foot view, right? Like looking at the doc book, looking at even like the new Hedonites Mortals book, looking at the newest Realm Lords book. They're 3.0 books.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff in them doesn't make sense in the current meta. There's stuff in there you look at and you're like, man, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't feel right. Well, it's probably because whatever's happening with 3.0 is going to see that shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's an optimistic way to look at it.
No, I suspect mortal wounds are going to get reduced again. GW's generally brought them back into line with every single new iteration, and then they go back out of line again with new armies.
Yeah.
But 1.0 mortal wounds were super rare, right? 2.0 mortal wounds were still rare outside of a specific couple units. And then it kind of got crazy. And I suspect they're going to bring it back in with 3.0 again and be like, "Oh, okay, you're not doing this anymore."
Yeah.
Well, how do you even start doing that to an army like Lumineth that they have just released? That is.
So I think Lumineth are going to get stormcasted. I think their points are going to get so high that they're just not practical to play.
I mean, that's one way to do them.
Yeah.
And if I look at what they're doing with that army, right? If I look at a lot of the way they're using sales tax with that army right now, and they're trying to press and get that army sold, a lot of it screams early on 1.0 and even like 1.5-ish Stormcast.
Yeah.
Just get it out there. Get it all sold, and then we adjust it later.
What's the stupid guys with the maces that can cast them themselves?
Evocators.
Evocators, yeah. When those came out, right, those were a huge deal because their mortal wound output they could do and how much they could. But now look, they're so overcosted, they're not worth playing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at what the Realm Lords have going on points-wise. Their points are way too low. Blade Masters are 30 points too cheap. And they were playtested at 160, and the books has them at 130. Speaking with playtesters in the UK, I mean, they were playtested at 160, and they were still competitive at 160.
Yeah. Then you look at like the Slanesh, both types of their heavy infantry, the Painbringers and the Twin Souls are both 160, 170, and are worse units. Like just objectively worse.
So overcosted. So that's what I was saying. I was laughing and saying they're so overcosted with my mic off. But
yeah. That whole book.
No, like I suspect Realm Lords are going to get the Stormcast Eternals treatment. They're just going to get costed so high that they're difficult to play.
Yeah. Well, where do you point Teclis at to make him not an auto include in a comp
860.
list?
I think 860 puts him in a spot that's really rough.
Like that Nagash, that Nagash spot. That's what they did with Nagash.
200 points more than what he is now.
Oh, I think Realm Lords are playing with an extra 1,000 points right now.
Yeah, that's what it feels like sometimes, especially for some armies that kind of rely on their buffs and their buff stacking because it's so disruptive to those buff chains. Like that's what Lumineth Realm Wars does. It just disrupts all of your buff chains in one way or another, whether through command abilities or by killing your characters or by debuffing your units. Like that, I don't mind that play style, but they get too much of it. Like
or
you were saying,
get lucky and blow a unit off the board, and the Cathaler's like, well, now you go away too, just because you made a smart decision. Because in order to kill something in Lumineth, you have to tactically win that battle. Like you're not just going to walk on the board and kill something in a Lumineth army. So you out-general the other general, and then the Cathaler says, now you go away for it. Like, whew,
that you've got battle shock immunity, etc. But
yeah. Yeah, it's fun. We'll see. I want to see where the next 6 months are going to go. 3 to 6 months going.
Well, I think July we see 3.0.
That'd be awesome. That'd be cool.
I think the word in general is around that time frame. It'd be interesting to see what changes and just what they decide to change, like what changes missions or rules or.
Book?
I do. I think the current doc book is a 3.0 book. I think the intention is this is supposed to be a 3.0 book.
Yeah. I agree.
I think the new Soulblight Gravelord's book is a 3.0 book also. I think it's going to have some weird stuff in there that's going to seem odd.
I'm excited about that too.
It's
been a while since I've been excited about a Death Army. Wasn't excited. It was kind of like OBR was what it was, and for the things that I look for in an army, it was a dud. Like it doesn't mean it was bad. It was very good when it came out. It still is very good, but it just isn't what I want to play.
It's a controlled Death Army, which is weird. It's like if we were talking Magic, a black-blue deck.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean. Lumineth are in essence a blue deck. Like that's what they are. They're a Magic. If in Magic, they're straight counter deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 500 counter spells in a 60 card deck.
Yeah.
Well, I have arguments with player interaction. Like I don't like it when we start reducing player interaction, but
yeah, that's what, and I can understand. Like that's been a big argument towards prayers for a while, is that there was no interaction there, so it needed to be addressed. Which I agree. Like address it, that's fine, but don't nerf it out of playability.
You don't make it worse. You add counterplay. Like that's how you should address it. But if they just want to make it so bad that it isn't good enough to take, I mean, that's one way to address it for sure. Not the proper way, I would argue, but it is a way. It's an option.
Oh yeah, it fixes it all right. Sure fixes it. Hey, look, everyone's running the same 2 battalions now. How weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like the book a whole lot. I mean, there's some things that I think need to be changed with it, but then again, I'm new to it. So, like Gavin he knows, he's been around me long enough to know I get really, really excited for something for like 2 months, and then I move on. But I'm still really into these snakes because I haven't played them a lot yet. But I think
I wasn't the biggest, happiest camper with the book originally.
Oh, me neither.
It's a lot of change. It's hard to embrace change right away, especially when it just seems bad. Like
going from that 2018 book to this, like that was a big shift in the way the army plays, and so that was rough for me because I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do with my 60 witches? Like they're kind of worthless now. They don't work the same way. Like, so after I've done a lot of list review and list refinement. I'm pretty happy with some of the stuff I've come up with. Like talking about the life taker list with the witches just to screen off of and jump behind. I think that's a solid list. I think there's some interesting snake lists, either shooting or melee. I think both can be viable. Yeah. And the fact that there's 3 lists right there that are viable says a lot compared to Old Doc. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Because even playing Calibron or Hagnar in the old list, you weren't really playing that massively of different stuff. You were still kind of playing around the same stuff and same models, same units. Now, I can run a full snake army, and I can be competitive with that. I can run nothing but Bloodstalkers like you've been doing, Gavin, and have a lot of fun with that. And it's a very good list. You can go straight, melee snakes, Brian, like you've been doing, and have a lot of fun with it. It mulches. I mean, it does work. It's just it's a little glass cannony now, but it mulches.
That's the issue with it. If you can't, like, I've even like been in the game with an opponent and be like, well, none of my buffs got off, and I shouldn't charge you. But let's see what this run roll looks like. Oh, I rolled a 10. Well, I'm going in. Like, this is what I'm not going to get 3 inches in front of you. Like, we're going to go, and we'll see where the dice go. I put enough faith in my dice to say I'll win, and I usually win that engagement. It's the one afterwards where like 40 plague monks or something comes piling in.
Oh yeah, it's the counter charge. Yeah,
it's that counter hit that hits me bad. But I've worked in some
Takers the ability to get away from that counter charge. I know it's a 50-50, but it's still better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I kind of like about the new book, whereas the old book, there was like a lot of the elements of the army was linear in a lot of ways. Where in the new style of doc I see is like there's a lot more elements that kind of they're encouraging you to play like a trap game where you're setting a trap for your opponent, like maybe with 20 snakes that have bows, right? You set them in a point to deny area, and if your opponent walks into that area, then that they're springing the trap, right? And I really like that kind of play style. It's real. I see a lot of the same things in Deepkin. That's another army I like a lot. So I see that those two armies playing similar in some ways, and I enjoy that about both of them relative to the old play style of kick the door down.
So I do enjoy the cunningness of the new doc list. I think that's the right way to say it, right? That cunningness, that maybe laying the trap is a better way to say it. Maybe that is the best way, but I do enjoy that because there's a lot more finesse than I thought there was going to be in the new book versus the old book. Like I thought the old book had a lot of micromanaging, and it did. The 3-inch rules and all that crap was annoying. Having Holy Within 12 is so much nicer on so many of the different abilities now. 12 and 14 being just easier numbers, much easier to pay attention to. There's no random daisy chains anymore, which is so nice. I don't have to make these crazy patterns anymore to stay in range, but at the same time also make sure I've got all these other buffs I need in place. Like
which zigzagged across the whole board.
I mean, there's been games where I've actually like had stuff mapped out because I've had to be like, okay, like this has got to go here. I got to have 10 here. I've got to have 5 going this way. I've got to have 4 back this way. So it's nice not having to like sit there and like pick my brain constantly. Like, okay, how am I making this work?
Yeah, before I move my general, let me make sure I can move my general without this entire house of cards falling apart.
Well, it's like I would like to charge my Slaughter Queen on a Cauldron of Blood in, but I can't because I need her to maintain these 6 other units buffs because she's in the perfect spot right now.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, if you have the 5 up, you have it. If not, who cares?
Yeah, that's kind of how I am on it. And it was, for me, it was always on the little iron scale. So it was like, I'm not going to have it long anyway. Like I may keep it for about around 1, maybe, unless I'm playing.
I try to make her not look threatening because I really like that command ability. I really like her command ability. I'm very big on it. I think her stupid, you get +1 attack if she kills something ability is absolutely stupid. I think that's just
kind of a waste of text. Not a waste, but you'd like it to be something else. You'd like them to not point that on the war scroll because
it would have been great if they made it so she could pray.
Yeah, if she was a priest, that would be excellent.
Like that command ability plus being a priest versus having witch brew, I think would have been a fantastic model. Maybe at 120, I think it would have been a fantastic model.
Mm-hmm. But I guess giving up that command ability early because you're marking it as a target when you make it. But you have, I guess. I mean, I always go for the Iron Circlet, I guess, on my Cauldron. So I guess there'll be some tweaking. We're going to play it. We got an event coming up in a couple weeks. Both of us are taking our dock out for a ride, so we'll see how it goes, and I'll see how Hagnar goes. I've been playing with the idea of Calibron. I've been playing with the idea of the one that has Temple Nest in there and being able to get the free Harpies. Like I've been messing around with those ideas, but.
So does Gavin really play Doc though? I mean, he plays shoot Doc. Is that really Doc?
says Daughters of Khaine on my battle tome. So see, right
That's
here.
not what daughters do.
Yeah,
There's no. You're not covering
see?
yourself in blood.
Look at that. It says Daughters of Khaine. Marathi does.
Well, his.
I actually have my book right in front of me too. That's the sad part because I was like making sure I had
Yeah,
stuff in
I
front
think
of me.
we all have it right here. Like, I think his snakes do though, because you get Mind Razor on a set of those bow snakes, and they go charging in. Like, they're no joke either. Like, it's like one less.
In
attack.
Hagnar, they were much more punchy because you had I had a brew and Mind Razor in there, so anything with a brew and Mind Razor, if it goes off, is going to be punchy. But now I haven't played the new iteration of Calibron, so it'll be interesting to see how it does. I was able to play the old Broken Realms Calibron and was able to win that local tournament. But
that was a fantastic setup. Yeah.
Yeah, moving in the hero phase, real good. Turns out, moving in the hero phase and shooting in your hero phase, yeah, it's pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. I in theory, I like the playstyle a lot, even if it doesn't do some things as well as Hagnar might. I like the idea of all that abstract movement, something I'm a big fan of. So I'll try it out. We'll see how it does.
Yeah, I live and die with that command ability, so I like my speed, and maybe it's something to address, like putting that artifact on the Cauldron instead, and giving her a different artifact. But giving her the 5-up, giving the Cauldron, because the Cauldron's more survivable, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to go on her, right? Like, is that a command trait now? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's the command trait for the 5-up. Yeah. So it has to go on her. Never mind. So
yeah. So if you want Snake Battle on, you've got to have it on
either the Medusa or the Iron Steel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have me thinking about something else now, though. That's not good. I don't think it could fit. That's the problem with points. I'm doing it in my head. I'm pulling up War Scroll Builder right now because I'm like, can this fit?
We should talk about how often this army wins Arcane Power. Can anything beat this army on Arcane Power? If you're playing bow snakes with Marathi, what does it lose to on Arcane Power?
It's a great question.
Yeah, I shoot your heroes, and you can't kill mine on 2 objectives for 2 turns.
So you're not killing one of them. You can't kill either of them because you mirror dance onto it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can just walk onto one with the Shadow Queen. I don't think
you can mirror dance Marathi into the other one.
Well, no, you can't. You can teleport heroes on to objectives and take them. So they do have to walk. But if you have a Blood Rack, you get off Steed, 16-inch move, and then Shadow Queen has 14-inch move, and then Marathi walks into the center one. I have all 3, and then I kill some of your heroes, and then we get to the turn 2, and I kill the rest of them. In theory, of course.
That's the way I see it. I think, I think any snake build with Marathi in Arcane Power.
It doesn't do that on every mission. It's got some really weak missions too, but on that mission, I think that you've got the chance of drawing anything on that mission. And especially if you go deep into a tournament, you're going to start to filter out the stuff that you're not going to see at top tables, and you can pull those top table armies. I could really see Doc being a landmine army on Arcane Power if Arcane Power is on the 3rd or 4th mission, because you'll see a lot of stuff lose to it. I think. So it'll just be something. The structure of your mission pack is probably going to change with the new edition. I don't know if Arcane Power stays the same or even survives the new edition, but as is, it's something. You find this War Scroll Builder thing yet? What are you looking for?
I'm playing around with a crazy idea. It's a 3-drop. It's a glass cannon, but it doesn't give a shit about dying. And it has a lot of attacks. A lot of attacks.
I see.
I'm like
Xanther Kai?
Yeah, with a Scathcoven battalion, right? And so
harpies.
right? So you got 20
Let's
life
see.
takers, 2 10-man blocks. You got 2 10-man blocks of blood sisters, a 5-man block of blood stalkers to meet the battalion requirements, an iron scale, and then Marathi.
Could be interesting. Low enough drop to dictate, and a lot of attacks, like you said. As many.
Well, I'm at 1830, so I still have room to put in like a hag queen on foot if I want, etc.
Just make the harpies 15-man units if you wanted to. That's one option. Right?
Yeah, or a 15-man block of snakes.
Or that too.
Turn that bow snake unit into a 10-man unit of bow snakes. Cause
I hate bow snakes with a passion.
yeah, but a 10-man double shooting can really put a hurting on some stuff.
We can't all play the same things. It's okay. I'll play the bow snakes. I've got enough for everybody.
Yeah, I have 15 in my list, but I have.
It's a 3-drop, 1970.
Ooh.
It's a glass cannon though. I've got no bathtub with the plus save.
Yeah.
But you got battle shock immunity and so
state of the game. What does a 4+ save you from?
Yeah,
that a 5+ wouldn't.
What does
it's just like
like everything.
Yeah,
it seems like everything's neg 2 Ren now. Like, remember when it was crazy good? Neg 2 Ren. Remember our big Shadow Queen girl?
Remember when Archeon had 1 Rend on his Slayer?
Oh, I remember when -1 Ren was a big deal in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you remember last week when Marathi had it on Heartrender?
Yeah, now it's a 2. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now Lumineth Kangaroo archers have -2 Rend on their bows
In combat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hitting you with it.
Because it's a really sharp bow. It's really sharp.
Yeah, for sure.
The sad part is I don't see how you fit those in a list even now.
Nah, I mean, if you're building Techless, like Techless needs to, for the health of that book needs to be rebalanced with points in a way that makes the other options in that book attractive, because the rest of the book is, I think, playable competitively and has some really good options and some really unique play styles, but like Techless just has all their spells, so there's no reason to not take Techless because he just does everything that you want to do in that book, I think. But there's arguments against it.
And arguably they made him cheaper because he no longer needs Spell Portal, which used to be tied to him for his Mortal Wound Bomb. So now he has a teleport and doesn't need the Spell Portal.
Yeah. Well, now he can teleport, Searing Light you in, Ruin of Petrification.
And Lambent Light.
That'll be fun. Zero fun.
Is he going to survive after that, though?
Well, yeah, if he ruined
if you
the unit in the...
Well, no, if you speed a Hish something in front of him, and I mean, for a turn, he's going to have a 5+ Feel No Pain and be on a 2+ save. So there's some stuff that'll kill him, but he's still really tanky. And if Goading Arrogance gets up next to him, you're not killing him with a hero.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you've got 30, 40 archers and you Lambent Light something, you're looking at, 13 to 20 mortal wounds on something.
Not to mention the 15 to 20 that he's going to put out through Searing Light. If he's right in front of your entire army. So you're looking at the damage that KO used to do that everybody was afraid of, that 30 to 35 damage that KO did, but all in mortal wounds. Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun, yeah.
It's so balanced.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? Balanced. That's a good word for it.
I think it is. I think it is. I can't wait to have it happen to me.
It is hard because you have to have good reading comprehension to read all 23 of his spells. So I'll give them that. The players that play well with Techless will have good reading comprehension for sure.
Gonna have to chess block those games. Like, all right, we're an hour and a half in, and you're done with your hero phase. So I get to play now.
Yeah.
Like Zinch was like that. Like Zinch was very much ate up. Like I remember the last time I played Zinch, I think we made it to turn 2.5 maybe. And it was like game over. But I mean, I remember by the time he was finishing his hero phase, the table beside us was starting battle round 2. Like on our battle round 1. It was just ridiculous.
But it's
the
still
last
like,
time I played Zinch.
As bad as all those things are, like it could still pull this army on arcane power, and this army, I think, will be favored in that mission. Like, so there are missions that it doesn't play so well against certain armies.
But just because they can't kill.
Like, just on paper, like the chain that it's going to perform in a lot of its games is real scary to most things. Like, there's a lot of armies that just won't be able to play against Lumineth, I think. Like, a good significant portion, which is not good, I don't think. But
it's bad for the game, but
yeah,
what do I know?
Only one prayer though.
Yeah, because prayers were too much, but
Yeah, we fixed it.
Yeah,
prayers were getting out of hand. Obviously,
yeah,
that was the problem. Not mortal wound outputs, just prayers. Just prayers.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, nearly uncontested mortal wound output, totally fine.
Yeah, nearly. Like, that's the thing. It's like, oh, there's counterplay. Okay. How many spellcasters you got that got 4 casts?
There was a little bit in Agnar, and then they made it worse.
Yep.
Yeah, having re-rollable 5-ups to Shrug was big for that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the book itself actually nerfed it. The book itself made it so the Feel No Pain no longer affected.
Yeah, I saw that, and then they just clarified. If that happened a year ago, it would look better. Because for a while, that was the complaint about Agnar, was that rule. And if that had changed a year ago, then it would have made sense and been in line. And it still kind of is, outside of a few exceptions. Like, a lot of destruction armies are real happy to see that you can do mortals and circumvent that rule. But
yeah, I mean, like you said, it would have made sense a year ago. Like, that it was a problem a year ago. Yeah. Now,
it just seems like it's too late for what the meta's progressed to.
Yeah, it's like a knee-jerk reaction from the information they took in a year ago, and it's like, well, it's not the same game it was in 2019. Like, the damage is so outrageous right now. Most games aren't going, like we talked about earlier when we were talking about the Witch Brew thing. Most games aren't going past turn 3. Like, usually you're handshaking on that roll-off. Like, whoever wins this roll-off probably, like, usually one player needs it to stay in the game. And if they lose it, it's just like, well, you want to go get some beer? Like, we'll chill out now. Like, you got it. We can talk out auxiliaries at this point, because we can, 2 good players can reasonably figure out auxiliaries at that point. And if you need to roll those dice or whatever, which is okay. I don't want to play 5 rounds for 5 games in a weekend. I don't want to do that anyway. So get it over with anyway. Just be done.
Gotta get your endurance up, man. That's the gimmick there.
Well, I was playing all of 2019. My corn games all were like down to the wire, like War Games Con. Both of my games were both of the games I lost were who wins turn 5 priority roll, and it was like, and that was against Feck and that Legion of Night guy from Nova, from the Nova.
Oh
group.
yeah. James.
And it was just
James played the Skaven.
No, it was Legion of Night, and I made, and the real mistake was, like we talked about, how I let anything that could deep strike or outflank back then just control me to the point, and it was old Battle for the Pass in the triangle deployment. So I was like, well, he can bring units off of the board edge. So, well, I'm just going to sit here because I'm corn. He'll bring them off the board edge, and then I'll just kill them. Well, I also gave up every objective on the board at that point, minus my own. Ended up losing by 1 point because of it. I gave up 4 points right off the bat, and then so we're not making. It's not gonna. I'm not gonna be in the house.
I'll remember from War Games Con was chugging margarita Saturday night.
Oh,
that's the best part.
Saturday night,
I missed that the most of all.
Speaking of War Games Con, how bad did we miss Nafik?
He's back. He's back around.
He's back here in Austin.
I see him
he's slumming
in the Discord.
He's not in Texas, but he's back.
Yeah, I saw him in the chat. It's like,
I've been chatting with him. I've been chatting with him.
Yeah, I talked to him in 2020 because we were talking about going up to, what was that, Iron Halo or whatever they were going to do. And he was like, hell yeah, come crash on my couch. Let me know when you're in town. Like, I need a place to stay. Come hang out.
Yeah, actually, so the Friday night before the Houston GT, Napic, myself, and a buddy from 30K were down in the bar until 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah, when we played, I could tell. Like, you were
I was in rough shape.
Yeah, like just unzipping or pulling out your dice bag. You were sweating like
Day one, dude. I was in rough shape with using GT. I was like, I don't feel good.
Yeah. It was like a trial by fire for me in that tournament because I got to play you and Matt Taylor, and it was just like I learned real quick where I was. It allowed me to not get too cocky, like showing up, going, winning 3 games out of the 5, and then getting pounded by 2 players. It's like, okay, I know where I'm at now. I know where I need to be, And then I started hanging out with these guys, and that's helped out a whole lot.
It helped. I don't know if that's the word I'd use. Inflated all of our egos is probably.
That's it. Yeah, I put it. I got an air pump that pumps right.
Yeah, it's helping. Yeah, you borrow our air pump. Yeah.
I'm trying to think back to day one. Chris was trying to get me a beer all day because he knew I was like not in the good spot. And so all day he's like, "Do you want that beer yet? Do you want that beer yet?" And I'm like, "Dude, just leave me alone. I'm gonna puke."
Yeah, I don't want to hear you make noise anymore, please.
Like I am so close to vomiting. Like, please don't.
And remember in our game, I don't want to. There was a guy, somebody. I don't recognize the guy. I don't know him. I don't think he's a huge part of the community. But someone smelled real bad and kept walking by our table. And
I was not having a good time. I was a rough day. It was rough.
It was pretty bad.
Excellent.
Because my focus was like, I just got to keep it together right now. Like, before you and I played at Houston, man, I went and chugged a beer over at the bar right next door to the hotel. I was like, I gotta calm down. Like, shit.
I remember you finished your game with Zach earlier than I think I had finished my game for, and you were already asking me questions about my army. I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
When we were wrapping our game up.
You guys were like doing handshakes and stuff. So I came over. I was like, "Hey, so did it?" And you were like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Yep."
Give me a second. I'll tell you everything.
I was like, my brain is like 600 miles an hour right now. Yeah. That sounds like I gotta go have a beer. Like I need to have a beer. I need to play my damn game and not worry about what Gavin's trying to pull.
Yeah, that was actually my first singles tournament too. It was like what got me hooked on AOS was going there and it's like seeing all those, just seeing how that crowd was relative to 40K, which I had kind of been like dabbing in 40K and just didn't like any part of it. Didn't like any part of it. The sportsmanship, didn't like the army selection, didn't like the attitude of the players a lot of the time. So it's just been a perfect fit for Age of Sigmar, I think. It's a great group of people to play with.
Yeah, that was my second 5-day ever. My first one was the War Games Con the year prior. I did a lot of 1 days and stuff with 3 games, but that was my first. My second GT.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
makes it really easy to invest the time that we all are used to investing when everything's going full tilt.
I was signed up for 40K, but I couldn't get a spot, and the guy couldn't confirm that I had a ticket or a spot or not. And finally, I was like, "Well, AOS is right next door, and I got all this corn stuff I want to play." And then I text Kyle, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we got a spot." Like, okay. And I knew so little about even my army at that point. He was like, "Okay, well, what slaughter host are you running?" I'm like, slaughter host? I don't know. Like, he's like, "Well, you got a bloodthirster in your list. Run Reapers of Vengeance." Like, okay. I had 1 bloodthirster, all mortals running Reapers of Vengeance.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny.
I almost played 30K. I almost played it with Jody in his narrative event. I was real close to bringing my 30K stuff. So,
well, I think it was the perfect little thing. We all got to meet the Slambo dudes, and
Houston was a fun tournament. Houston was a lot of fun. Obviously, the Masters closing out 2019 into 2020 that way was a fantastic way to kind of cap off the year. War Games Con was massive that year. That was a great War Games Con. So many folks from all over the country.
Yeah.
Big group of Oklahoma guys came down. I mean, those were really good tournament circuits that year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was pretty drunk at the Slambo GT the whole time, so I don't remember everybody was there.
Slambo was so intense
Slambo
for
GT.
Me.
What is it? That goddamn abomination that y'all made me play. That fucking pinata mission. If you ever make me do that again, I swear to God, I'm gonna burn that game hall down if I have to play pinata again. Like, but other than that, excellent event. Like my favorite, great event outside of that. But that
was such a great mission.
Who did that? Who put that in there? So I know.
Dan Norris play tested it. Yeah, that was Norris's baby.
How dare you?
Well, I let you. I really let you dictate our game. Like when those Marauders lived up there against Marathi and retreated off and got your objective. Even in that same turn, you were like, oh, well, I could just take Marathi over there and take your objective. And now that I play Marathi, I'm like, no, he couldn't have. He couldn't have gone all the way over there. So I burned an objective like a turn way too early. Like, he was already transformed. It's like, well, I'll just take Marathi over there and take that objective. I'm like, well, yeah, he will if he gets Marathi over here. Like, now I play her like, no damn way that she was getting all the way across the table. From
it was like 40 inches away.
I was like, fine, I'll burn them both right now.
I was like, okay.
They got a draw. Like, oh. But I was happy. Like, man, a draw like was good that day, considering it was you right after the Zach game. And then me and Jonathan Sleeveless had that game. That was another Doc player. And, man, 100.
John was playing Sisters of Slaughter that game.
Yeah, 120 points dead at the end of the game. Like, because I couldn't kill enough of his stuff, and he was passing it on Battle Shock. And the only thing that had died out of my army was the unit of Marauders. And it just, the way it went down was so bad. Like, he got none of his buffs off. I'm like, okay, well, if he's going to play real cagey and try to play for the draw, I'm going to go in and get that unit because they're right there. They're not buffed up. And then over the announcement hall, they said, go ahead and look in your packet and get your sportsmanship votes in. And he was flipping through his packet. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can fight first with a command point this battle round. I was like, oh, God. And I had no CP. Like, it was like, so then that unit of Marauders died to the unbuffed unit, obviously. And I was like, oh, that was the play that would have. But Jonathan was a fun game. You know, I mean, I couldn't catch him. I couldn't kill everything. It was just, he kept keeping everything alive with the Battle Shock immunity and stuff like that. But Korn and Doc playing 120 points dead at the end of the game.
That's insane.
That's so
That
crazy.
was Pinata, wasn't it?
No, that was the one where you had 4 objectives
in the game.
At the end of the game, whoever held the most won.
That's right.
So I just wasn't fast enough to get where I was chasing him. I was trying to get there, and then
who did I play on that mission?
Jeremy Cooper, I think.
Did I? Was that game 4?
That was 5.
Yeah, it was Cooper. It was Cooper. I played just Jeremy. Yeah.
I remember I played him, and I had Terrorgeist, and he had Zombie Dragons, and the interaction was that simple. And then so he got pushed down, and had to play. I think he had to play you.
Yeah, I was playing my Calibron list. I was not playing like hardcore. I was having a blast.
I played Mr. Sleazius first round, and he had Calibron too. Would have been a lot better for him if he had Hagnar in that matchup. Terrorgeist can kill Calibron, Blood Sisters. Turns out.
Oh, it'd kill everything if you don't have Hagnar. Like, you have to have Hagnar against Terrorgeist.
Yeah,
that's the big change for me this year. Like, if there were to be a GT circuit, you know, like, I know what other people's armies do now. It's like I can't get fooled by, well, I'll just come over there and get yours. I'm like, no, those numbers don't add up. Like, you
can I have my doppelganger cloak back, please?
No.
What do I got to do, Games Workshop? Please.
I don't want the doppelganger back. I want the Thermal Rider cloak back.
Yes, that's a great one.
That's fun.
But you can't have it because they gave it to Seraphon.
Yeah,
they took it away from the rest of us and gave it to Seraphon, and they mixed it with Griff Feather Charm. They just slammed them together.
Thermal Rider cloak was my go-to on a cauldron. Like, so good.
With fly, you couldn't really trap yourself.
Well, it had the -1 to hit, and so you still get Lookout Sir off of it. So it'd be -2 to shoot at, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why bathtubs get Lookout Sir, but thanks, GW. Like, that's your guys' rules, not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got the Calibron bathtubs that are -2 to hit.
Well, I used to get the dirtiest looks when I tell people that too. They're like, "No, it doesn't." I'm like, "I swear to you, it does." Like,
yeah.
I didn't write this rule. It's not my fault. Like, I do apologize, but I do get Lookout Sir. So yeah, Calibron, Thermal Rider on the Cauldron -3. It was fantastic. Just porting around, people like, what the hell?
Oh yeah.
Rumors on New Edition is that I've heard. I don't know if there's any validity or not. It's the charge reactions and the small board size, and there might be other stuff, but that's what I've heard. What do you guys think of that?
So I've heard a lot of the similar stuff. I think there's going to be a big overhaul to how command points work. I don't think command points are going to be a stagnant or like a limited resource. I think they're going to be more like 9th edition 40k,
where you get a certain amount. Just
for your list building. Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that play into it. And those reactionary abilities, there's going to be an Overwatch one that's like 2 CP, right? There's going to be an automatic retreat one that's like 2 CP or whatever. They're going to be high enough that they're interesting, but they're not going to be so high that they're not usable.
And it makes that Lumineth ability kind of work like Vec used to do in 40k. So it's like you add one more CP to a pool now that you have of like 12. It doesn't take your command abilities out of the game completely. It just makes you pay a little bit more for them. So that's cool. That would be awesome.
So that's what I think some of this stuff's coming. Like I don't think you're wrong with that one, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm not too excited about the shorter boards. I think it's whatever, but
will they then limit command point generation like they did in 40k, where it's like if you have an ability to generate CP, you're only generating one per turn through all of your...
I think it is something they're going to limit because they want it so that your list itself is dictating it. Because from what I can garner from people I've talked with is that they're looking to try to make more cross-compatible play. They're not trying to make the game systems the same, but they're trying to make core mechanics similar so that a new player can play both very easily.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that the double turn stays. The turn roll off, I think, is a lot of what AOS's identity is tied up in, and I don't know if I'd like the game as much if it wasn't there.
If it goes away, drops are everything now, and I don't see how you stop a shooting army.
Yeah, that's just it. It makes the game very linear, and I don't know. I like the double turn a lot. It gives every army a puncher's chance, realistically, no matter what you have, and I don't know. I think that's it's like a signature thing, and I'd hate to see it go away. I don't think it will, but
I've not heard that it's going away. So
yeah, time will tell, right?
I've also heard we're going to see mortal wound reductions. I've heard we're going to see some points increases for specific armies, and some errata changes for specific armies.
Interesting.
That everyone loves so much right now.
I mean, what do they do to limit? I mean, I guess erratas is how you limit that. Like mortal wounds on 6s, not increasing any of that. Like
it's just a flat 6 versus being able to get on a 5+ versus whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Starts to slow their armies down significantly,
which is cool. I mean, I would like to have a game not decided by the end of turn 2, like by the roll off. That would be fun. But then again, like guys that play the way we're going to play take advantage of that with the way we push the tempo so fast. Like that's how I play now, and that's why I was so successful. Not everybody, but a lot of people have that come to the middle and squash kind of play style, and we just don't do that anymore. Like the game's not there anymore. It was there 2019-ish, and even then it was outdated. Even what I was doing in 2019 with Korn was outdated, I believe. But all these command ability stuff would be really cool with a pool for your army of like say 12, and then.
Well, I think 12's a lot. I don't know if you're going to see 12.
Well, I'm just using that as an example from 40k.
I think like that 8 to 9 range is probably realistic for most lists.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That way, you're not neutered right out the gate if a 3-drop Lumineth Lord or Lumineth army comes in and says, "Well, now all your command abilities are 2 CP." Well, I only have 1 because I didn't bring a battalion, so I can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I've heard. Smaller board size.
Because 40Ks it's a 60 by 44, right?
So the idea is they want you to have like this sideboard.
Mm.
So they still want you to use a 6x4 mat, but they want like a 10-inch sideboard on the mat, and it's just weird.
Yeah. So they want to sell you the mat with the little divider on it, like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. I think if they go down to that mat size, I don't even think they'll be able to sell a lot of those mats because other companies will sell those mats, and tournament organizers are going to for 40K, and it's not hard to put a different design on there, like at all. And like I think tournament organizers are just going to prefer the the room they get back, rather than like try and fit a sideboard. Like I'll just take the square footage that builds up over the course of 50 mats rather than a sideboard.
Because that's like
it's an extra mat on some rows of tables for sure.
Yeah. So
it's just silly to me to like change the board size. I think 40K doing it too is just silly.
Yeah, I think so too.
The game's been on a 6x4 for a very long time.
Yeah, they want to sell those mats, but they're just they're not going to get ahead of that. It's too easy to make mats. Like it's too easy to change the size of mats.
They're too far behind the curve to really ever get ahead of it or get there enough stake in the game.
Yeah.
And like it ruins the realm of battle boards too, which is really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing there's not a club in Texas that has like 24 feet of it painted up.
We play old school here. 6x4s here. But
well, we like y'all shirts. We were thinking of we were thinking of just stealing that and just showing
the
up.
bowler shirts, yeah.
You were just thinking of like just showing up with Harambe shirts, just like the Slambo shirts, with our names on them. But we came up with a different idea. We're going to surprise you guys.
It's a little more our style.
We have polos too now.
No,
polos
it's not the Harambe style.
It's something more. It's more extravagant.
So we can look a little more professional. Yeah.
Nah,
I just get drunk in my bowler shirt, so I don't worry about it. So.
Yeah.
Professional is not our jam. It'll be fun. We'll see it. We'll see if we get it ready for the next time.
It better be tank tops.
Everybody can.
It better be tank tops.
It's better than tank tops, sir.
Oh yeah.
Is it a onesie?
No, it is pure.
I have a tuxedo.
Do you want me to run the surprise? Or you want to be surprised? What do you want?
I don't
run
care.
the surprise if you want. What do you
You
want
don't have to run your surprise on here.
No, you can say it. I think it's better. Just release. You can say it.
We're gonna custom make some logos. We're gonna have some biker cuts, so you'll know exactly where we are and who's in Harambe's Heroes. It'll be easy to find.
That's fantastic.
We'll see. We'll see how all that shakes out.
Yeah, I went real redneck with mine. I got the American flag on the inside of it, and then we're gonna have our little nicknames on there. I think Mike Honcho is what I'm settled on.
Mike Honcho. Okay.
Mike Honcho.
Yeah, so like I don't know if you guys know, but like for Slambo, we didn't come up with our nicknames.
Oh, they just got.
They're given to you. Yeah. So I got nicknamed Chance by Brian. I don't know if you guys ever met Brian, but he used to play trees and stuff. You guys may have never met him. And so I have a $50 I flip around in my hand often. And so that's what he nicknamed me Chance because I constantly flip it around.
I see. Just as a tick.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because it doesn't make me play with my dice. Like I have a nervous habit of playing with my dice at the table, and some people think that I'm trying to like rush them when I'm doing that. And so by playing with the $50, it's easier for me not to fixate.
Yeah,
that's cool. There's a backstory. I thought it was like your middle name or something.
No, it's actually just because I used to play with a coin to not be rude to my opponent.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you're still rude to your opponent, but it's another discussion.
I'm weird.
Right?
I'm weird like that too. I mess with dice. Like I have to have a clean board, and a lot of times people will think I'm trying to deliberately take my wounds off of things that are marked with dice, and I'm just trying to clean up the board because it's driving me insane. And so I have to come up with a different wound counter. Like the Masters ones are cool. Like just keep passing that thing around. But yeah, I do the same thing. I clean up the board, and it's like you had 3 wounds on there. Like you're right, I did. I'm not trying to cheat you. I'm just trying to get these dice out of the way. It's a mess.
Yeah, I don't know what I would make my nickname.
No, we were just spitballing and messing around with it. We think
we're giving each other nicknames. We're not coming up with our own nicknames.
It's not from ourselves.
You know the code. Come on.
Yeah, you can't pick your nickname.
You can't pick your nickname.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I would make my nickname. That's the problem. I don't really have nicknames outside of AOS.
Like we got a big dude named Matt, and he looks like the lead singer in the Metalocalypse cartoon. So we named him, and he has the same mentality. So we named him Nathan Explosion.
Nice.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. We'll see how fast.
Who's Dr. Rocco?
All together.
Who's Dr. Rocco?
We don't have. We're not all doing the TV show. Chance.
We were just looking for fitting things.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. I mean, we really like your club and how you guys do things, like the community building side of how you guys do things. It seems like that's kind of the focus on your guys' stuff, is y'all want to have a good group and nobody takes themselves too seriously. I think a lot of times our shit gets misconstrued and taken to people's feelings, and because we're just
I don't think you guys are serious like at all, but
never, not one second. Even when I dog out Luminous, it's kind of my role in our Discord. It's become, I'm the guy that goes in there and incites the Luminous hate, and then I just step back and watch 400 things pop up on there, and it's just to laugh about it. Like, I don't care what people play. Like, I'm gonna play what I want to play, no matter what they play. Like, so either I win or I lose. End of the day, we'll drink some beers and we'll have a good time. That's a lot of people. I think a lot of people were getting really excited at the end of Masters there when it ended, and it was a lot of like motivation of people to go be a part of that, and then we lost it. And our locals specifically have been feeling that, because you can't come to a local here without bringing the heat. And if you don't, you feel it. Like, you go 0-3 and you don't like your day. I would like to get to the point where our locals are more friendly, or we're playtesting things, and the GTs is where we take the heat.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's different here. I think a lot of it has to do with Norris. A lot of it has to do with Dawson and kind of the mentality they push. I mean, I like, even on our casual night plays and stuff, or even like when we have meetups and stuff, I tell people ahead of time what I'm bringing. Like, I'm not trying to like screw anybody over. If I'm doing a list prep, I tell people ahead of time, like, hey, I've got Accomplice with me and I really can't alter it from what I'm trying to do. Like, I need to see what it does on the board. I need to play with it more. I need to see interactions with it.
Not there for the result. You're there to see what happens.
Yeah. And if you're a brand new player, I'm not going to sit down with Accomplice and play you on a fluff night. Like, that's messed up, man. I'll pull Dawson to the side, or I'll have Rutherford, and myself throw down with one of his 12 armies. And so I wish that was a joke too.
No, he's got, that's like almost as many as me.
And then but I also have, a Night Haunt list I'll bring with me that's fun and fluffy. I'll play Toned Down Dock and stuff too that are just fun and fluffy. So I don't know. I mean, it's different. You guys don't really do a club night though, do you?
No, right now, because we can't go to the GW store. That would be where we would do it.
Yeah.
Our GW store here does not have the space, nor do I think they actually want us playing in the store.
Yeah, the inclination. Yeah. Gotta find a spot. We're working on something. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah. Our normal hangout just hit us back up, seeing if we were interested in starting to come back out again, because a lot of us are vaccinated again. So,
well, he and I getting into the tournament organizing stuff this year has helped out. That we're making the contacts and the network that we can actually start putting together some of those where we all just go out and play, and have a good time, and then I think that will help grow. We have a lot of newer players in the community that are coming in, and I think the intimidation of coming into a tournament is a lot. So if come out and play, just come out and play and have a good night. I think that'll help. But we got some new guys coming in. We had Jack Ratley was a new guy that came in for a little while. We hadn't seen him lately, but he came in and 3-0'd his first little event that he came to with BCR, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Yeah, I think there was. I don't know how his.
Did he pull ideal matchups or what?
Yeah, he did. I think so. He got some of them. He pulled some good matchups, and then I played a different BCR guy in the second game with Archaon and teleporting Marauders and just blew them apart. But Dylan. That's one of the Corcoran brothers we have out here. Hopefully we get them. You'll get to meet some of those guys soon. They're a couple of brothers that are great to play. They're always in our events. Dylan's in the Army, so he got moved. I don't remember where exactly he ended up, but
Yeah, you guys have the Miller brothers now too, which they seem like some characters.
Oh yeah, Evan. I mean, Evan's the guy here that helps us do this, and Ryan's was on with us for the Luminous stuff. And when we go back in and redo it, he knows that book already. It hasn't been released. He knows it inside and out already. So he's a great person to bring in to help out with this because I'm not that detailed into it. I just need to know the gist of what it does so I don't get surprised by it, and then I'm good with it.
Yeah, so my old saying doesn't work for Doc anymore. If it sounds broken, it's probably allowed. It doesn't work anymore.
No. If it sounds broken, don't worry. There's an FAQ coming. That's the new thing.
Yeah, that's probably the new.
That always was going to have a lifespan. It was probably a lot longer than anyone expected. To be honest.
Definitely was. It definitely was. And I think that's probably some of my reservations of like how used to it I was.
Yeah.
And then looking at the current meta and being like, honestly, you didn't need to do anything to my book. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to mention, I think at the time it was really good players that were also on Doc, so it helped because it was an expensive army to go into, and a really good player was the one that was going to make that work anyway. So
yeah, it's a little expensive. Yeah,
I mean, I felt it just on snakes, like
90,
50
90
bucks for 5.
Not a cheap way to get wood shells. 90 divided by 9 or divided by 10. 9 times 60.
It's super inexpensive. It's great. It's the best army ever.
Yeah, like the snakes too. 5 snakes for like $60. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been an expensive army. It's always one of those frustrating things with the army because of its price. And I think that's partially what frustrates me with the book is the fact that it is an expensive army. And GW in the past has usually been pretty nice to expensive armies.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't like. Yes, they were doing well in events that they went to, but they weren't everywhere. You know.
Well, it doesn't help that like 2 of the best Doc players in the entire world both play each other often in the UK, and make everyone else look like peasants. And so it doesn't help the situation when that's the test data they use to look at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're looking at guys who are playing 7-8 games a week just to practice.
Yeah. I was like that for a little while. It wasn't quite 7-8, but I was playing a lot. I was playing at least like 4 or 5 games a week when I was getting ready, like towards the end of last season, or that last season we had to get now, because I learn better from playing your army on the table than I do from reading your book. So if I see you go with one time with it, I'm usually pretty good. But you still always snuck something else up on me every time, or convinced me that it could do more than it did.
It's because he didn't show it to you all at once, Brian.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you got to slow play your book a little bit. You gotta keep your tricks in your bag.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still tricks I'm looking at. I mean, I think this Life Taker idea is an interesting trick. I gotta figure it out.
Yeah, I think it has potential, insane potential. Like, can you get it right?
I think it's going to be a glass cannon, though.
I think the book in general is a glass cannon now. Even Hagnar is just a little thicker glass. You know, I don't think it's.
Yeah, damage has come up, and then the damage reduction became a little bit more restrictive and not as good, just objectively not as good and harder to use in the sense that you can't spread out as far. So I just think you'll see, you have to see like Daughter's players apply their damage better than just applying their toughness like they did before. You're going to have to use your damage right. So.
That's why I almost don't know if certain temples are actually going to work with Life Takers the way I want them to.
Yeah,
I have some sneaking suspicions that I need specific buffs. So,
yeah, but that'll be fun to play out.
Yeah, it's almost ready. It'll be ready soon. Probably like, another week and a half. Should have it all ready to go on the table.
How are you looking on? I know you were on some movement restrictions. Once you're vaccinated, has that gone away or
I'm still going to be careful. My daughter, so it's not that you guys know this, but I'll explain it to you guys, I guess. So my daughter has a deformed right kidney. And so infections and things like that are pretty hard for her, and they're a little bit rougher on her. So we're very careful as a family to not expose her to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, especially there's some weird blood stuff that happens with COVID too.
There is, yeah. So I'm actually O pos, and so I'm less likely to even be affected by COVID for whatever reason because O blood types just don't give a shit apparently. So. But we're very conscious as a couple.
That's more important than playing games with toy soldiers.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. My daughter, is slightly more important. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just thinking about putting something together, maybe June timeframe.
So travel wise, I can move and do stuff military wise. I'm not under super strict stuff that way. So
that's good. So
At least
keep
not right
asking
now.
ourselves, are
until it
you
spikes
still
again.
active duty, or are you
Yeah.
in a civilian? Okay, that's what
I was an
we
instructor
asked
for the last 4
ourselves.
years. My
Okay.
my tour ends in September.
Okay. That's we kept this question has came up between Gavin and I like 5 different times. Is he in still, or is he a instructor in a civilian role, or what's going on?
I'm still in 14 years. So.
Nice, you're getting there, huh? Almost.
Well, it makes sense because he hasn't got fat like us yet.
Yeah,
I don't know. COVID was not nice to me.
Mm.
me neither. That was big time. Like, I think I got so bad that I forced my gallbladder into submission. Like I had to have my gallbladder removed. It was so bad.
It turns
I played
out
a tournament, and
you
I
can't
was
eat enough cheeseburgers to make your gallbladder stop functioning.
Yeah, I was like at the third game, and I reached for my Archeon, and I was like, "Oh, can you move my Archeon for me?" I just thought I had a back spasm or something. I was passing a gallstone at game 3. Actually, I was passing a gallstone most of that day, but it got real bad at like game 3. And then like 2 weeks later, I had my gallbladder removed. I won that tournament, by the way, while passing a gallstone.
Yeah. Adventures of Harambe's Heroes.
Yeah. I just thought like I had a back. Like I went to a chiropractor the next week and had him look at my back, and then like that a few days later, it's happened again, and I went to the hospital, and they're like, "Here's a bunch of morphine. Get ready for surgery because you need your gallbladder out." Okay. Yeah, it was. It's because I ate like a fucking idiot forever. You know. It's you got. I got out of the military where we worked out enough that where you could eat whatever you want and probably be fine. Yeah. But and then I continued, and then I worked as an AC tech on a roof while I was in college. And then I went into a sales role and continued to eat like a retard while sitting behind a computer. So we've been in the gym now. We've been in the gym since, December last year? I don't know that it's helping me all that much.
I guess you can tell. Not really. But,
well, I'm back on the diet bus too, so.
Yeah. I
had a lot more cardio.
I had a 4-year-old's birthday this weekend, so I ate like a retard. It was just like, well, baby said she wants some donuts, so I'm going to get some donuts. It's her birthday. Krispy Kreme. There's a new Krispy Kreme close by, so it's like, well, I'm going to have one. And then you can't just have one.
Rapidly melting everybody's brain from sheer boredom of Krispy Kreme and cheeseburger stories.
Well, this is
what he's doing is he's putting the cheeseburger in the Krispy Kreme and getting that Buford going, so you can really get the itis to hit. That's actually what caused the gallbladder to just give out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
can't do that.
This is as much to me as a doc overview as hanging out with a buddy that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I almost played you at every event that year. So it was like I just knew I was going to play. It was like, well, I'll just I'm going to grudge Carlson. Well, why? You'll run into him at some point. Like,
did we play at War Games Con too?
That was the only one.
I thought we missed each other at War Games Con.
Yeah, that's because my game 3 matchup was Marcus Miller, and my game 4 matchup was Marcus Miller, and I lost that priority roll to Terrorgeist on turn 5. It was Duality of Death, dude. That's the dumbest mission in the world. Like,
nope, that's Pinata. Second dumbest.
I played Jeff V. That round in his Archeon. That's the only Archeon I've never killed. Because he surrendered with like 6 wounds left. And he's like, nope. He's like, I can see it. And I was like, no, just let me finish it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Archeons, mine has never died by me playing it in a tournament. We had a guy play him at our most recent tournament and killed him before the battle round 1 ended every game except one. We made it out of that battle round.
Yeah, I think it was the top of 3. I just won priority. Or I just kept priority, and Jeff just surrendered with like 6 wounds left on Archeon. I was like, no, let me kill him. This is what I live for. I live for killing Archeon.
Well, it looks like Evan shut us down on the stream, so I guess we've been at it for a while.
Yeah, that's okay. We can keep talking. It's just I don't know if everybody is about it.
It was the top of 3. I just won priority. Oh, that was weird. Priority, and Jeff just surrendered. It's like I just clicked on the link on YouTube and it like looped.
Mm-hmm.
I hate my voice so much.
We all do. I sound like way more of a redneck over this thing than I do.
I'm grabbing. If you like your voice, what does that say about your character, though?
Yeah.
Who